Hey, Instagram. Hey, Facebook. Hey, YouTube. How's everyone doing? Um, I'm just going to wait. Hi, T Mills. Hi, Debbie. Hi, PD Solutions. Hi, Earl. Good morning, Lakeisha. Comment, let me know where you're tuning in from. If this is your first time, definitely say that in the comments so I can shout you out. Um, My name is Aisha Chidole. I'm an immigration lawyer. I represent clients all over the United States and internationally with their immigration matters. My phone number here is 407-995-6567. You can also send us a WhatsApp, 404-333-8751. If you're wondering why I'm going up and down, I have two screens, so I'm trying to get everybody. Oh my goodness, it's been so busy. It's like you go on vacation and come back, and it's like everything, but all good things. Just got word from our interview yesterday with one of my clients for abuse was approved. So, we've just had a week of, 10-year green card approval. So that's been really exciting. So busy. I've been traveling, for interviews, but they've all turned out good. So I'm really happy about that. I don't have any particular topics today. I just came on here so you guys can ask your questions, so if you have a question, this is a good time to ask your questions because I'm live. Um, Skip on Instagram says, how much do you charge for consultations? I charge $150. You can call us 407-995-6567 to schedule a consultation. If you have questions, guys, this is a good time to ask them. You can feel free to ask them. Let me see. I know I got some questions recently that I wanted to talk about. A lot of times I get this question a lot, so I might as well just answer while I'm waiting for you guys to ask questions, which is when you submit a marriage-based case and, you're wondering what evidence to take for an interview, like a lot of times people will say, well, my spouse, doesn't want to add me on the taxes or doesn't want to include me in filing taxes or, I don't have an SSN and stuff like that. So, when you are doing a marriage-based petition and it's your first, so you don't have a green card at all, it's not a requirement that you have joint taxes with your spouse. Now, if you do, that's great, but it's not a requirement because one, most people, when they're doing it for the first time, don't have their social security number, right? Most people, haven't gotten a job where, they can be included. Or, if let's say they got married this year and the taxes were from last year where they were not spouses already. So it's not a requirement, but if you don't have that, it's still important to show that there's a financial entanglement amongst yourselves, meaning there are things that you have together that show that you're living like a true husband and wife. Good morning, Love 08. Good morning, Leigh Jones. So in leading there, people say, when I say to people, you just need to show you have a bona fide marriage. And then people will say to me, yeah, we have a marriage certificate. We have a bona fide marriage. I don't know how many times, like, I need to explain this to you guys. I mean, I know for some people, they don't understand. It just cracks me up. A bona fide marriage does not mean that you have a marriage license and so your marriage is bona fide. A marriage license essentially means you have a legal marriage, meaning legally, the law recognizes you as married. When you hear the word bona fide or good faith marriage, it means that your marriage was legitimately entered into to have a real marriage, and you didn't enter into your marriage to circumvent the immigration process. What does that mean? So basically, you didn't enter into a sham marriage, you didn't enter into a fraudulent marriage, but you and your spouse intended for life to happen, okay, together. So what does that look like for most people? For most people, it means Maybe you have kids. If you don't have kids, or you're not interested in having kids, or you can't have kids, maybe you buy a house together. Maybe you're renting an apartment together. Maybe you have health insurance together. Maybe you guys go on vacations together, whether it's locally or internationally, because you don't have to travel internationally. Or you guys go to theme parks together, or you guys are on the phone all the time while you work together, and you have all this chat history or WhatsApp messages or messages with each other. So it looks different for different people. So it's not just one thing or the other. Like, so not having one thing is not what is going to disqualify you. It's the totality of what you have and how does it look. And then also, when you're thinking about a good faith marriage and a bona fide marriage, they're also thinking about how well do you know your spouse. You should know your spouse. Like, you should know things about your spouse. You should know what your spouse is. If your spouse has other children, you should know their children's names. You should know their parents' names. You should know your spouse's birthday. You should know when you guys met, who proposed. Like, those are things that show a bona fide and a good faith marriage, and stuff like that. Sheik says, can one fast track a VAWA case that has a prima facie determination letter? The short answer is no. Can you travel while waiting on your green card? Danny on Instagram is asking, you can only travel if you have advanced parole, which is basically a travel permit that allows you to travel. If you do not have advanced parole and you travel internationally, you're not coming back. If you don't have advanced parole and you travel locally, you can end up putting yourself in a situation where you're getting an ICE hold or being basically held in detention. So basically, you want to basically wait till you have your advanced parole before you're getting on any air flight. Okay. So T Miles says, what does a she says prima favor. Actually, what you mean to say is, what does a prima facie determination mean in VAWA, and at what point do you get that from USCIS? So let me first start by saying, not everybody is going to get a prima facie determination letter. It's only if your case meets the bare minimum requirements. If your case meets the bare minimum requirement, you'll get a prima facie determination letter. So again, you're not going. It's not a right that you get. It's only if your case meets the minimum requirements. And basically, that's essentially what it means. It means that you've produced enough stuff thus far that allows you to be considered, for a VAWA petition. Sorry, for a VAWA to be a VAWA recipient. So think of it as a pre-approval, but a pre-approval does not mean an approval. It's, think about it like in mortgages. Like, you could get a pre-approval to go buy houses, but there's no guarantee that company is going to give you a loan. Do you understand what I'm saying? It just means you meet the minimum requirements. And with that comes some benefits. And the benefits are very state specific. In some states, it will allow you to get your driver's license while you're waiting, right? For your green card, your green card or your work permit. This is not for every state. Just quickly off the top of my head, I know Florida and Texas are one of those states. I'm sure there are a bunch more of the states. It's just I can't remember all 50 states and their requirements. For other people, if they want to go back to school, it allows you to go back to school, right? And they and then you can get federal aid assistance to go back to school. In some states, you can get public assistance, but keep in mind that public assistance in some states come with certain caveats. What that means is that they're going to be looking at certain things before they can give you public assistance. For instance, if you have a prima facie letter, in some states, if you're still living with your abuser, they're not going to give you public assistance because you can't be living with your abuser and getting that, okay? Another thing that is included in a prima facie is just that the benefits are for you and your children. So any children that you have that are under 21 that are not U.S. citizens will automatically be listed in your prima facie determination letter. And so what that means is, if you get approved for VAWA, then all your children that are under 21 get approved for VAWA. Do not mistake VAWA approval for a green card approval, because those are two different things. Being approved for VAWA is one step, and then after that, you move to the green card approval. And for those who live in the US, it's going to be different versus those who don't live in the United States. If you guys are on Facebook, can you hear me? You keep saying that my internet is unstable. Can you guys see me, or is it blurry? So Stephen Miller says, is it a good thing to file all your paperwork one time? If you are eligible to file your paperwork one time, absolutely. I believe in front loading, get everything out done and done. If you, as much stuff as you have, you need to just be solid. I would tell you this, and this is not to toot my own horn. It's just, I believe in preparedness. I had posted about a client of mine who got approved for a widower petition on Friday. And I remember, and for a widow petition, just like you submit an I-360 for a VAWA application, in addition to your adjustment of status, you have to do the same thing for a widow petition. And I remember joking to the officer saying, dude, did you forget about us? We've been waiting here for like almost 2 hours. And I remember what he said, well, your wait was not in vain, because I went ahead and approved the 360 because everything was so put together well. I didn't have any other questions. So that is what you should be aiming for when you submit this petition, that you're so solid in all your facts and all your evidence. Obviously different people do different strategies, but I don't believe in delaying stuff. And I don't believe in waiting for an RFE. If an RFE comes, it's what it is. But as much stuff as we can send, if you qualify to send as much stuff, you should. If you're eligible for adjustment of status, you should be submitting your adjustment of status with your application, because immigration is so fleeting. Immigration rules and laws change so much that you don't want a situation where you submit or you don't submit and then the rules change and then you no longer qualify. The only thing that I generally do not submit when I submit applications personally, and this is my own personal way of doing things, is I don't submit medical exams. If a client tells me they've already done their medical exams, then it's what it is. Then we're going to submit it. And let me tell you the reason why I didn't submit medical exams. So much can happen between the time you submit your medicals, right? And the time of your interview. So my preference is always to take the medical so that that medical is still valid. I'll give you an example. In October of last year, they made medicals because sometimes some people are like, oh, well, but the medical is good for 4 years. So let me explain how that works. The medical is good, but the rules of what is required on the medical can change. So let's use COVID, for example. In October, what happened? They changed the laws, right? In October, you had to have your COVID vaccine to get your green card. So yeah, technically your medical is good for 4 years, but if you didn't have the COVID vaccine included in that medical, guess what? If you go to that interview, the only thing that will stop you from getting your approval is your medical, which means you have to do another medical, which further delays your green card, which could take several more months. So strategically, I prefer to take it with me. And again, that is just me. Everybody does your own things differently, but otherwise I front load everything. Good morning, Cleopatra. Cleopatra says, is a divorce absolute the same as a divorce decree? Essentially, yes, it is. However, some countries will have 2 divorces. It's called a divorce nisi and a divorce absolute. A divorce nisi is basically where they give you 90 days to see, it's like a period of reconciliation to see if you and your spouse will reconcile or you guys will get back together. And if you guys don't get back together, it becomes absolute. I'll tell you, like, I believe Massachusetts, for instance, Massachusetts does that, where you have like a divorce and then it becomes absolute. Nigeria does that. So the absolute is the ultimate it's done and done. But if there are the 2, it's good to have the 2, And another thing, since this is a frequently asked question, is that it seems that a lot of people don't know what their divorces look like or what their divorce decree. The onus or the responsibility is on you to know and ask for your divorce certificate. It's not your ex-spouse's responsibility. It's not your immigration lawyer's responsibility. It's not even your family law lawyer's responsibility, because everybody is given a copy of that. And if you don't have one, you should advocate for yourself and ask for it and confirm that that is your divorce certificate. Because if you're filing an immigration petition and you're divorced, this is a requirement. There's no going around it. They're not moving forward without that divorce certificate. The same applies if you go get naturalized And at the time you submitted your naturalization application, maybe you were not divorced, but by the time you're approved, you're divorced. You need your divorce decree, like even if it's on your oath ceremony, even if they approved you for naturalization, and then by the time you go in your oath ceremony, you're divorced. You need to take that, because that is going to show on your naturalization certificate. It's going to go from married to divorce, and so that they can print that correctly. So it's really important that you know the dates of your divorce and that you have a copy of your divorce decree, and that is your responsibility. Pinky said, if I got back fingerprint background check and found for that, is good new and you're my lawyer? I don't understand the question, Pinky. Sorry. Cleopatra says, so I have both. Do I need both when filing for my green card? Yes, you need your divorce NICE and your divorce absolutely. Mars Torres says, my lawyer submitted vow last September, but not adjustment. Even though I'm married to a U.S. citizen, she will submit it next week along with the work permit. You should be asking your lawyer this question. You already have a lawyer, so I don't want to answer the question. You should call your lawyer and ask her about your case, since you're already working with somebody else. Good morning. My husband has his own health insurance for his work, while I have my own health insurance for my company, but we would have life insurance together and tax returns filed together. I don't have a car yet, so we don't have car insurance together. We have billing together, but just the car and health insurance we don't have together. I don't know if it's going to be an issue at the interview. It depends on, I don't know what your file looks like or what you're presenting. But if I was the lawyer, I would ask you to consolidate your health insurance. One person should be the primary health insurance while the other people are beneficiaries. Okay, let's see. What else? Okay, let me answer someone on Instagram. Good morning. What is the best time for you to submit your paper when you're married? There's no best time. You can submit it when you're eligible to submit it, as long as you're married to a U.S. citizen and you entered into the country with inspection. Love says, attorney, my question is, how long will it take to get my work permit? I am a VAWA applicant and fingerprints shown since July 2021. Let me read that question again. So, how long will it take to get my work permit? July 2021. Okay, so let me do my math real quick. So July would have been the 7th month, leaving us with about 5 months. Well, I guess it depends on when you submitted your actual adjustment of status application. You might want to do a follow-up. If you have a lawyer, have your lawyer just follow up. Do a written follow-up just to check the status, because we count from the date of when you submitted the work permit to determine if you're outside process in time. If you're outside process in time, they can do a follow-up. If you're not outside process in time, they could do a follow-up, but it's really obsolete. USCIS is just going to be like, you're within process in time. But if you did your biometrics in 2021, the question is, when did you, July 2021, the question is, when did you submit the initial application? How long does it take for advanced parole to be approved? The answer is, it depends. Are you doing a renewal when you're doing a renewal application for a work permit, or is this your initial one? Windows vary anywhere from 5 to 9 months from the initial one. With any renewal right now, and you're looking at 12 months or more, unless you qualify for an expedited work permit approval, which would then come with a combo. And those who generally get approved are those in the healthcare field, unless you are able to show extreme hardship financially to you. When is the IC says, when is the ideal time to get a prima facie after submitting a vow application? So there's no ideal time. USCIS makes a determination on their own whether you should get one or not, and that could vary. In the past years, it used to take like 3 to 5 months. Sometimes now you're seeing it a little longer, or you're seeing that they issue the determination letter and they actually don't send it out until like a few months later, and you're just like, oh, what's going on? And you'll get in October a letter that was dated in June. So you don't decide the best time. They are the ones who approve you. Dental has a good question. It says, is it mandatory to get a divorce while filing for VAWA? It is not mandatory to get a divorce while filing for VAWA, but if you do get divorced, keep in mind that you cannot remarry anybody else while your case is pending. If you remarry somebody else, basically kiss your application goodbye. Nikisha says, how long after your marriage interview should they take to give you an answer? What can you do if they're taking too long? So the rules have changed recently on this. Very frustrating because it's personally frustrating to me. So I know it's frustrating to my client. So typically, 6 months is an acceptable window for them to make a decision or decide what they're doing, right? If after 6 months you've not gotten a decision, you've not gotten a request for additional evidence, you've not gotten a notice of intent to deny, prior to last month, you could do an ombudsman request, which was my personal preference. But now you literally cannot. Like they have they've sliced it down to what will allow you to do an ombudsman, I guess because they're being inundated with what's the status of my case, that now they won't do an ombudsman request. So that leaves you with doing a congressional assistance, which is a hit or a miss. What I mean by that being a hit or a miss is that you can have a congressional office, depending on your zip code, that's very pro-immigrant and are really working hard to see what's going on. And then you could have another one where they will not even respond to you. You can send them hundreds and hundreds of emails. They won't even respond to you because they don't care. So I don't love that, but really that's it. And if that doesn't work, you have to be ready to sue the government. You have to be ready with the money and be ready for whatever the decision is to sue the government, because that would be the only thing where it's like, my case has been pending for however many years or however whatever, and I'm filing a lawsuit. Okay. Good morning, Chanel. Jamie says, when can I be called for an interview? I filed for my I-485 last April. I don't know when you can be called for an interview. It depends on your field office and their own interviewing schedule. Every field office is different. But for many field offices, usually within 12 to 13 months of initial submission, generally you have at least your first interview. But again, it's very field office dependent. It keeps telling me that I have poor connection. Can you guys see me clearly on Instagram or on Facebook? Like I keep seeing a black out. Let me see. Okay, so Superstar says, can an abusive spouse stop an ongoing VAW petition if he finds out? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. He can't even if she or he called USCIS saying, oh, I know my wife is filing a VAW petition, or what is she saying, or blah, 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 blah. USCIS cannot speak to them, or USCIS is going to be fined, or USCIS, whoever speaks to them on the phone is going to be fined, because it's a matter of life and death, putting a victim in danger. So they're not going to do that. All right, guys, I have about 5 minutes. Let's see what else. Let me see. Give me some good questions, guys. Can your spouse file taxes for you with your ITIN number? I generally don't like to talk about tax questions because I'm not a tax preparer. So speak with your tax preparer, and they should be able to answer that for you. Mumi says, I've been asked to do fingerprints for VAW. What does that mean? It's just biometric. Well, I guess let me step back. Who's asking you to do fingerprints? USCIS or your attorney? Because those are two different things. If you're doing fingerprints for your attorney, it's because they have to do a background check on you, because they have to submit the results of a background check, because in order for you to qualify for VAWA to even get into a prima facie, you have to meet the good moral character standard and show that in the last 3 years you don't have any crimes of moral turpitude or anything that basically puts your character in question. If it's USCIS, that comes standard with every application. Even if you did biometrics last week for TPS, I'm using TPS as an example. Even if you did biometrics last week for TPS, they can still call you. They can still call you again for your VAWA application. Okay, it's time for me to go because my voice is scratching. All right, guys, I'll talk to you guys later.